there, we're Chris and Carrie.
We quit our jobs to travel full-time and eat everything we can, and here's our story. Please excuse the poor cinematography and foul language. We're chefs.
Hey guys, since it's the beginning of a new year, we thought that we would introduce ourselves properly and tell you a little bit about our story.
Where we started, how we started traveling, why we started traveling.
Alright. So first we thought we would start with answering some of the most frequently asked questions about us. This is our list. Who are we? What do we do? When did we start doing it? Where have we been? How did we get started doing what we're doing? And why did we start doing what we're doing?
So the who's easy. The what?
What are we? We are lovers.
We travel full-time, eating our way around the globe.
Yes.
We like to travel and we like to eat. So we both worked in hospitality for a majority of the last 2 decades in hotels, restaurants, bars, many countries, domestically and internationally, mostly international for her. And we decided to quit our jobs and do it full time because we enjoyed it, and the pandemic was kind of that perfect push for us to do so.
So now we travel mostly to eat and try as much food as we can, learn as much about each cuisine as we possibly can. That's our passion, that's what we used to do, and that's what we like to do. So we like to share it with all of you guys every time we discover new dishes or find a cuisine that we really like.
Because why? It gives us someone else to talk to besides each other.
Correct.
So when?
Check.
When did we start?
When did we start? To make it a little bit easier to explain our timeline, we will draw a timeline for you. So we met in 2010. I was in culinary school and I went for a culinary internship in Florida, which is where we met, and he was one of the chefs there that I worked with or worked for.
She worked under.
Can't say that. So in 2010, we met during my internship in Florida, but we didn't really start until I got back in the Philippines. So we spent most of our relationship long distance. We did 3 years of long distance while I was living in the Philippines, finishing my culinary degree, and he was working in Tampa, Florida as a chef.
So the first time I ever went out of the country was to come visit her. I couldn't take it anymore, so I got a passport, booked the first ticket from Florida to Manila. It was a 30-plus hour flight, and it cost way too much because I knew absolutely nothing about doing this. So that was my first international experience. Just kind of fell in love with it from there. That was kind of where I began.
And that's where travel became one of the biggest parts of our relationship, when we had to travel to see each other. It started out as a necessity, and then later on it became one of our favorite things to do together, one of our favorite bonding activities. Every time he would visit me in the Philippines, I would take him to all the other islands, and we'd explore like all the different beaches in the Philippines, different islands, and we kind of fell in love with traveling together. That's kind of what sparked the start of our obsession with traveling.
I think it started with an obsession of food.
Yeah, that's true.
And then by being apart for those few years doing long distance, then it became about travel.
Yes. And then in 2014, we got engaged, and I was able to move with him to Kauai, where we lived for about 7 years. We got married about 6 months later, almost a year later in 2015.
Then we pretty much just worked like dogs for the next 6.5 years.
Yeah. Working in the hospitality industry, though, has been great because it let us travel a lot more often, and it gave us access to a lot of opportunities to travel. We could stay at really nice hotels for free since we were in the industry, and since he was a chef, every time we would go somewhere where he was known, they would give us all the food on their menu. So we kind of fell in love with the prospect of traveling for food specifically.
This is true. We've been to some really great places because of the perks we had when we were working in hotels in Hawaii.
While we were in Hawaii, also, we would wait for our 10 vacation days a year to be able to travel, and we just did not want that life anymore. 4 years later, we started kind of talking about traveling full-time. We started saving up money and putting it away in a savings account to see if this was feasible for us financially. And then we gave ourselves 1 year, and by 2020 we were good to go. We were ready. By March of 2020, we were both going to put in our 2 weeks notice for work so that we could leave a month later.
Then we all know what happened. The world shut down and all of our plans just went to a complete standstill because we couldn't go anywhere. We could leave our island, but we couldn't get back to certain states in the mainland. We couldn't go internationally because the borders were pretty much shut down. So our plans to leave were postponed indefinitely with no end in sight.
It became kind of a blessing in disguise though. It gave us an extra year to kind of save up and get ready. And by 2021, we were set to go. And by May of 2021, we were finally ready to go, and we left.
So we left, and the world was still in shambles. So we ended up going back to mainland United States.
We were supposed to go straight to Europe as our first stop on our travels. We had train tickets, plane tickets, we had Airbnbs, we were going to watch the running of the bulls. We had all of these plans that we canceled, and instead we stayed in the US.
So we flew to Chicago. So that's where a lot of my family is, and we haven't seen them in a long time since the pandemic. So from there, we planned a whole bunch of small trips around the States. We flew to Mexico for a week. We flew to the East Coast and all the states and visited a lot of friends and family we haven't seen in so long because we work in hospitality and we don't get a lot of time off. We pretty much did as much as we possibly could. Then we got back to Chicago after these trips. That was a couple months later. And we realized that the world's still not opening back up. So we had the bright idea, you know what, let's get a van and we'll drive across the country and see how far it takes us. So we rented a van, we geared up, and we ended up driving for 6 weeks. We picked up the van in Nevada, spent 6 weeks driving around the West Coast, and visited as many states and national parks as we possibly could have.
Yeah, we ended up visiting about 17 national parks in 6 weeks during that trip. Maybe more.
We drove a lot, and we've never done that before, so that was an eye-opener. After those 6 weeks, our goal was to get to the Philippines for holidays. And somehow, fortunately, even with quarantine and everything, we made it here. So that takes us to present day. We're right now in Manila, Philippines. We've been here for the last month.
Yeah.
And from here on out, we're going to plan on traveling around Southeast Asia as much as we can for probably about 6 to 8 months. And then hopefully we can get to Europe once things start easing up a little bit.
We want to get to Europe in time for all the festivals that we want to see, such as Oktoberfest, Running of the Bulls, all the wine tasting events in France. So hopefully things work out, but I mean, it's been wonderful here in the Philippines. We've been having a lot of fun trying all new Filipino food and spending the holidays here, and we're looking forward to spending the next couple of months all around Asia. Okay, next question is how
are we able to travel full time? I would say first one's planning. That's the biggest thing. Where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do, what your budget look like. Are you gonna backpack? Are you gonna stay in hotels? Do you have friends and family you can rely on? Planning would definitely be number one. 2, I think, would be budget and savings.
Yes.
That separate account we have on the side that we put money into solely for travel. Solely for travel. That was the only thing. We never took any money out of that. We only put money in.
Our biggest tip for saving, this is exactly what we did step by step. These are the steps that we took that let us kind of pay off all of our loans, save up enough money to last for the first year of traveling. We did a lot of research on how much people have usually spent in a year of travel. It really depends on your travel style and everything. We got an estimate based on the places that we wanted to go and the cost of living in each of those places. You multiply that by a year, and then that is your end goal. You give yourself a timeline on how long you give yourself to put that money aside.
So find your budget how much money you're going to put away every paycheck or every month into this fund, regardless of how much you want to save. And then after that, you'll come up with a daily budget that you're comfortable with when you start traveling, and then that will more or less define on how bougie you can do it, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're gonna stay in 5-star hotels, then you're probably gonna want to budget a little bit more. So it just depends on how you want to do it. We're not bougie, but we don't want to sleep on the ground.
Most of our money goes to food anyway. Some people can do $50 a day, which is very feasible. A safe bet would be about 100 to 150 a day. It's a lot more feasible than people think. There's also a lot of platforms that allow you to kind of travel for almost free, such as Workaway. They let you stay at certain accommodations for free in exchange for work. There's so many different options, and that really helps out with your budget. If you're suddenly needing money on the road, there are also a lot of remote jobs that you can take. If you can't come up with saving a certain amount, you can make money while you're on the road. You don't necessarily need to have like a big cushion of money. You can just go and work while you're traveling.
Now the big question, why?
Check.
Why would we leave our jobs, our beautiful island paradise, to do this? Travel, deplete our money that we saved up, not having a home base, not having our own space. Why would we do this?
Because we want to.
Because there's so many places on this planet that we've never seen, we've never been, things and people and culture we've never experienced before. We're young, we're capable, we have no children.
The real question is, why not? Why not?
That's a better question. Why not? And that's all.
So since it's the beginning of 2022, we thought it would be fun to give you a little recap of all the places that we've been to the last 7 months of 2021 leading up to today.
Check it out. Is this a movie montage?
Maybe.
I've always wanted to be in a movie montage.
Bye!
It explains the safety features of this airplane, including the location and operation of exits and
Wanna shake the ground, wanna break away, let loose. I'm tired of waiting, gotta make that move. All the neon signs, now they shout to me and you to write our story. Wanna shape the new. Do you wanna come along with me? Come along with me. Got a restless mind, and now I won't let go. So let us be crazy before we are cold. You can take us out, your doubts won't hold us down, 'cause we're gonna light up the sky where we go. Oh, do you wanna come along with me? Come along with me. Do you wanna? And we ain't got nothing
hope you enjoy the short recap, and we hope you subscribe so you can stick around and watch the rest of our adventures all around Asia for the next few months, and then off to Europe. Shoots! Bye!
Bye!
Why are we called the Traveling Chefs? Because we are full-time travelers and we used to be chefs.
And we found out that wasn't taken.
And we are the Traveling Chefs.
Or we're just homeless and hungry.
Oh my god.
We are wandering kitchen wizards. We are striding soup makers. We are friendly friars.
Take 10.
Did you say steak 10? We're the caravanning carrots.
Stop! Hi. Should we do it like serious? Hello.
Happy Lunar New Year. Do you have a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior? Hello, we are Wild Stallions.
We're just a couple sitting in front of you, asking you to subscribe to our channel.
Stuff. Here's the who, what, where, why, when, and how of why we do what we do.
Cut.